Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Fright Night Friday Blu-ray update. Got a big one for you this week. We've got quite a stack of movies to go through. Now, as you know, I'm all about classic horror, and I get a lot of older movies on Blu-ray because I just love older movies and, the creativity and innovation and things that are historically significant to the genre and stuff like that. I just love older movies, but I have to say, in recent years, in the horror genre, we've got some really good stuff lately. And, so this time around, we're going to take a look at some modern horror movies that I picked up recently. And, some good ones. Some really good ones, actually. I almost feel like we're heading into a new golden age for horror with some of the just staggeringly innovative, creative, and genuinely disturbing films we've got in the past few years. So let's take a look at which ones I picked up this week, today, on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. I should say I didn't actually pick all these up this week. These updates that you're seeing actually date back across the past probably 6 months worth of pickups. It's just taken me this long to get around to doing the update videos. So by this week, I mean this week's video that you're seeing. That's what I mean. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? So, first off, this first one was one that I kept hearing everybody talking about. Thankfully, I avoided spoilers for it, so I was able to go in pretty much cold as can be and be properly shocked and disturbed by all the shocking and disturbing things that happen in it. I'm, of course, talking about Hereditary. Yeah. This is, I guess, the debut film from Ari Aster, who is a name that I think we're going to be hearing a lot of good things about in the world of horror in the years to come. Because so far, he's just knocked it out of the park twice in a row with this one and, of course, Midsommar, which he did a year or two later. But, wow, I had heard nothing but good things about this, that it was, genuinely disturbing. There were some people I know who saw it and said, wow, that movie really fucked me up. I am never watching that again, but I'm so glad that I saw it. So I was really curious about it, and as I said, I didn't hear much about it other than it's really good and really disturbing, so check it out. So found it fairly cheap one night, decided to pop it in the player, and wow. This is good and proper horror, meaning good and proper horror is the kind of horror that disturbs you, that maybe upsets you a little bit, that makes you squirm in your seat, and most importantly, that stays with you long after the movie is over. This is one of those. And, it absolutely blew me away. I can't believe just how good this was. And just, not even just as a horror movie, but just as a movie. It takes you on this nightmare journey, and you're not quite sure where it's going. And it's just so different, and original and unpredictable. And how often can you say that about a horror movie? But this is one of them right here. So yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. Well, I say enjoyed. I was really horrified by this a lot. Very, very well done. And I have to say, I got to go with the crowd here and say that Toni Collette was robbed at all of the awards shows, because her performance in this as the mum is absolutely amazing. One of the finest, just general acting performances I've seen in recent years, and so powerful and so emotional and so just so many layers going on there. But yeah, Hereditary is an amazing film, and I definitely look forward to seeing more from Ari Aster. So let's just take a quick look at the packaging and the extras here. Okay, so not a lot to write home about as far as the packaging goes here. Being the Canadian release, it does, of course, have Hereditaire, the French version of the title on there as well. Some do, some don't with that. I don't know what the sort of rule is. We do have some featurettes about the making of the movie, which is very cool. It's not a ton of stuff on here, but what there is definitely interesting. And there you go. Nothing even inside as far as artwork goes, just the disc art. And that's it. There is a digital copy code insert as well, which I removed just, because it's mine. And there you go. So at some point I'll probably watch this again and do a more in-depth review for you. But I just kind of wanted to give you some of my general impressions after watching it because, wow, this one really blew me away. And then, the same day, I picked up Midsommar. I didn't actually even know this was by the same director. And I didn't know it was by the same director until I popped it in the player and started watching it. And saw on the cover from the director of Hereditary. I'm like, oh, it's by the same guy. Cool. This is another one I'd been hearing a lot of good things about, and in particular for it being one of those rare cases of it being like a what they call a daylight horror. There's not a lot of night scenes in this. Most of it is in broad daylight, and this again was just incredibly different and original, and just kind of takes you on this journey that you can't look away from the screen, and there's all these strange things, and it makes you feel uncomfortable and strange, and again, much like Hereditary, stays with you long after the movie's over. Now, sadly, here in North America, we only got the theatrical cut on Blu-ray. Apparently there is an extended director's cut that's available overseas. I did at least get the slipcover with it. I missed out on the slipcover for Hereditary because I waited so long to get the movie. I actually got it the same time I got Midsommar. And there we go. Very nice. Solstice d'été. Yeah, again, Canadian release. So, and oh, look how different the regular artwork is from the slipcover. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's a fairly standard slipcover where it's literally just the same as the regular one, but it's nice to have anyway. I don't know. I like slipcovers. What can I say? And again, much like Hereditary, nothing to write home about inside. It's just the disc art in a plain case, and that's it. That said, we do have a few special features on there about the making of the movie. Ari Aster talks about how he started production on Midsommar before Hereditary was even released, so they were off on location filming this while Hereditary was becoming a huge hit, and he didn't even know about it at the time. So it was kind of funny to hear that. But yeah, really enjoyed this a lot. Really hope we get the director's cut out here. I really hope we get that here because I would really like to see that version of it. That said, I mean, the theatrical cut is pretty amazing anyway. So, but I'd definitely be curious to see what more is added. But this is such a wonderful film because it takes you on this journey where everything seems kind of sweet and innocent through a lot of it, yet there's just something off about what's going on that you can't quite put your finger on. And it becomes more so as it progresses, as the characters kind of get sucked into this this cult in the middle of the forest. And yeah, I really don't want to say too much about it because it's something that deserves to be gone into cold as well, to just kind of go on that journey and let it take you where it's going to take you. But this will disturb you and fuck you up in completely different ways from how Hereditary disturbs you and fucks you up. But definitely a journey worth taking, and one that I highly recommend. I really enjoyed this a lot. And as I say, after after having this double bill, Ari Aster is absolutely on the map as far as I'm concerned as a horror director to watch. And I can't wait to see what else he comes up with. Just staggeringly creative and original, both of these films. Just amazing, amazing work. Next up, this is a sequel that kind of took everybody by surprise. It treads on very sensitive ground where it's, well, I'll just tell you what it is. First off, Dr. Sleep. Yes, which of course is the sequel to Stephen King's The Shining. It's also the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's film version of The Shining. And as a sequel to both the book and the movie, and kind of something that pays homage to and respects both, I gotta say, I was really blown away by this, by just how well it works. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And Ewan McGregor as grown-up Danny Boyle, and not Danny Boyle. I always say Danny Boyle. Danny Torrance. Danny Boyle is the actor. Anyway, really enjoyed this a lot. And this is another one that has moments in it that are just so deeply disturbing and harrowing, yet you can't look away. Also, this one actually does include the director's cut as well as the theatrical cut. The director's cut is a solid 3 hours long. The theatrical version is 152 minutes, so 2 hours, 32 minutes. So it's almost a half an hour longer than the theatrical version. Needless to say, if there's a director's cut available, I'll watch that one over the theatrical cut every time. So I jumped into this 3 hours of just harrowing horror and psychological disturbingness. And I gotta say, it did not feel like 3 hours. Like, I was sitting there watching, I was just sucked in immediately, just drawn in by the characters and the story and the horror of it all. And you know how sometimes you're watching a movie and you check the running time on it and it's like, oh God, it's only 20 minutes in, it feels like it's been an hour. Well, this one, at one point I checked the running time, I was already 2 hours into the movie. And I was like, what? How is it 2 hours already? It feels like maybe 45 minutes. But that, to me, says, hey, good movie, because it sucks you in. But, yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. And just before watching this, I rewatched The Shining again, which I hadn't seen in years. And it definitely helps to rewatch The Shining and then jump into this. Makes a great double bill. Highly recommend you do that. And because there's so many connections between the two. You know, even Stephen King was really happy with this, apparently, where he may not have been as happy with the old Kubrick film because it changes a lot of things from the book. This one actually kind of fixes some of the stuff that was changed, but does it in a way that is respectful of Stephen King's work, but also respectful of the Kubrick film. This is why I say that is not an easy balance to achieve. But, what's his face? Who was the director on this again? Was Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan, who is a name you guys might know if you watched The Haunting of Hill House series on Netflix, which is also excellent, by the way. Really good stuff. Somehow he manages to pull it off. Like, he pulls off that balance. And it's just amazing. I was really, really impressed. That is not an easy task, to honor both King and Kubrick in one fell swoop, and have an entertaining film on top of it all that, you know, ties into both so beautifully. Like, it's an amazing piece of work. I was really, really blown away by this and absolutely loved it. So, Dr. Sleep, check it out. Let's take a quick look at the packaging and stuff here. Very nice slipcover. I like the slipcovers that have this kind of matte finish. You see, it kind of looks glossy, but it's not. It's not like a high gloss. It's just sort of a matte gloss, if that makes sense. But very cool. So there are some extras on here. Some very interesting featurettes about the making of the movie and how they tried to match up certain things with Kubrick's film, and how they sort of modified things from the books to align more with the film and stuff like that. There's interviews with Stephen King on here as well about how his conversations with with Mike Flanagan about the direction he was looking to go in and things like that. So here we basically just have both cuts of the movie on their own discs, which is quite nice. I like it when they do that. So we get, lots of room to breathe for both of them. And sorry about that, didn't mean to bash the camera. I will fix it by the time we get to the next close-up. There you go. So very nice addition, and highly recommend you check this out. But as I say, do a double bill. Watch The Shining again, even if you've seen it a million times. Watch The Shining again, then watch this, and pick up on all the little connections. You will not regret it. It's a great ride. Next up is a remake. Now, you know how I feel about horror remakes. Generally speaking, they tend not to be very good. A lot of the times they're just trying to cash in on the name and just kind of do something that's a pale imitation of the original. Not so with this one. This is one of those other types of remakes where they take the sort of central themes and ideas but then go off in other directions. Now, I'm a huge fan of the original 1977 film upon which this was based. So when I heard they were doing a remake of it, I was, I don't know, do you really want to go there? Like, the original is such a classic, do you really want to risk it? But then I started hearing all these amazing things about this film, and I was like, that actually sounds really interesting. So I finally bit the bullet and picked it up. I'm, of course, talking about Suspiria, the 2018 remake / reimagining of Suspiria. Now, the thing that I really liked about this is that, much like how Dr. Sleep stays true to the source material, or, well, respectful of the source material, it's the same thing with Suspiria. It stays very respectful to the source material of the movie and some of the central themes of the original movie, yet does different things as well. Tilda Swinton is amazing in this. She actually plays 3 characters, and I had no idea that all 3 characters were her. I won't say which 3 characters. Don't spoil it for yourself by going to IMDb or something. Just watch the movie. Then look up which 3 characters she played. Okay? And then be as amazed as I was. But but in terms of the story, now, the original Suspiria, the story is kind of surreal. Like, it doesn't really, if you stop and think about it too much, a lot of what happens in Suspiria doesn't make a lot of sense. But you just kind of go along for the ride. It's a nightmare. It's like a hallucinatory nightmare journey. And this one very much is as well. However, within that, and staying true to that sort of nightmare aspect of it, they actually gave it a pretty solid plot this time. There is an actual proper story to it this time that, ties together quite nicely by the end. I really enjoyed this a lot. There's a lot of things that will ring kind of familiar to fans of the original, but there's also a hell of a lot of original stuff in here too, where they take things in different directions. And I really like what they did with this a lot. It has a fantastic cast. There's some truly disturbing moments in it, and it's just extremely, extremely well done. So even if you're a hardcore fan of the original like me, I highly recommend giving this remake a shot, because I think you'll really enjoy it. It's very well done. It's one of those exceptions where they actually did something interesting instead of just cashing in on the name, So it's Suspiria, but a different Suspiria. Yet the same, yet different, yet the same. You'll see what I mean when you see the movie. Anyway, take a quick look at it here. Sadly, as I think I mentioned, no extras on this. It is bare bones. And not much in the way of packaging either. Just the disc art. I mean, at least we do get nice disc art. That's certainly something we don't see all the time. But not much in the way of packaging. Yeah, sadly, not a single extra on here. It's just the movie. It's bare bones. I really hope we get some kind of special edition of this at some point. It would be really nice to get a little bit more insight into the behind the scenes. I was curious about the behind the scenes story behind this, and basically just went to IMDb and looked up the trivia section and read through everything. So got a little bit more insight there. But it would have been nice to at least have a couple of featurettes, maybe a commentary or something. But oh well, at least we know the full disc was used for the quality of the picture. So, you know, looks and sounds great. Next up, another director that is making waves, and interestingly enough, a director that comes from a background of comedy. We're seeing this more and more lately, actually, where people who are kind of known for comedy are dipping into the world of horror. We have the new Saw film, for example, coming out, produced by Chris Rock, and I'm really anxious to see that one. It sounds like it's going to be a good one. So this is another director that comes from the world of comedy, namely Jordan Peele. Now, of course, Jordan Peele made a lot of waves with Get Out a few years ago, which was basically a satirical horror, which I thought in many ways felt like it would have been right at home in a Tales from the Crypt episode. You know, it very much had that kind of vibe to me, like a Tales from the Crypt kind of story. And then a few years later, he gave us his follow-up film. Well, not a sequel, but you know, his next venture into horror with some tinges of social satire added into the mix with Us. Yes, a terrifying tale of doppelgangers. Yeah, doppelgangers is something that I've always found to be an interesting concept. I've seen a few horror stories that deal with that over the years. Doppelgangers, of course, being evil twins of you and people you know. We've seen lots of examples of that over the years, but this is kind of a different take on that, and I really liked this one a lot. And just as Get Out had moments of humor, this one does as well. Some people have said that they feel that's a little out of place with some of the concepts of these films. I don't think so. I think it's just Jordan Peele's style. Is you know, the humor is very dark humor, which I like, so I'm okay with that. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. So again, I don't want to say too much about it because it's better if you go in cold and just kind of let the story take you where it's going to take you. There's some twists and turns along the way that you may or may not see coming. I figured out one of the big twists before it was officially revealed in the story, but that didn't make it any less impactful. It's quite a good one. So let's take a quick look at the packaging here. And then Us got this really nice slipcover. If we look, I don't know if I can catch the light just right. Yeah, you see the teardrop and her eye is the and the title. The only things that are glossy, the rest is matte. Like, look at that. That is cool. Like, that is an effective use of, you know, where to put the glossiness. I like that. And it gives it kind of a, you know, it makes the tear more prominent that way. It's very good. Lots of special features on here too, which is great. Basically just the same cover for the thing. But I mean, this is sort of an argument in favor of getting the slipcover. You get that cool representation there, which I think is really neat. Which of course you lose with the original. I mean, you still see the tear, but it doesn't have that emphasis that the slipcover gives it. So it's basically just the same artwork there, and then inside there's no interior art, but we do have the DVD and the Blu-ray. There's also a digital copy code, which obviously I've removed for showing in this video. So there we go. At least this one has some extras and stuff, so that's good. So yeah, so if you liked Get Out, definitely check out Us. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And last, but most certainly not least, I think it's the only one out of the bunch that I haven't watched yet, because I still need to get caught up on this franchise. Picked up Annabelle Comes Home. Yes, the latest chapter in the ongoing Conjuring universe saga. Yeah, I have all of the movies, but I've only actually seen the first Conjuring and the first Annabelle. What I've been hearing from people, though, is the sequels are really good. That the second Annabelle is better than the first, and the third Annabelle is even better than the second. So I'm looking forward to checking these out at some point. I'm probably just going to start over from the beginning and maybe do a review series of the whole thing for you. So don't know when, but that's the idea. So this, of course, is the third Annabelle movie, which is the, what do we got? We got The Conjuring, Annabelle, Conjuring 2, Annabelle 2, The Nun, Curse of La Llorona, and now Annabelle Comes Home. So I guess this is the 7th movie in the Conjuring universe series. And I think there's a third Conjuring on the way. So, very cool. Good stuff. So this, I believe, is the one that actually ties it right into the first Conjuring movie. So this is the last of the prequel trilogy, giving Annabelle's backstory. I don't know. Maybe they'll find a way to do more with Annabelle. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I really like what Blumhouse is doing. How they've actually successfully done a horror universe. And funny enough, it looks like Universal has handed the reins of their dark universe over to Blumhouse, because it's like, hey, Blumhouse seems to have it together doing their Conjuring universe. Maybe we should give them the Universal Monsters. I haven't seen The Invisible Man yet by Leigh Whannell, but I hear it's excellent, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out when it comes out on home video. So that's one I definitely look forward to seeing. And it sounds like that might be finally, after how many abortive attempts, the actual final proper start of a dark universe. Oh my God, talk me. Dark universe featuring the classic Universal monsters. And yeah, I think Blumhouse has really shaped up nicely into a good and proper horror studio. They've got some really good movies under their belt, and I don't think there's been a single one of theirs that I haven't enjoyed. So I definitely look forward to seeing what else comes from them in the years ahead. So let's take a quick look at the packaging here and the lovely slipcover. And Annabelle Comes Home, the most haunting Annabelle yet. Mm-hmm. Very nice. So we do have some special features on here, which is good. Yeah, pretty much all the Blumhouse movies give you some kind of special features. I do like kind of the montage of people behind Annabelle there. I think that's very cool. It almost suggests like flames behind her, like flames made out of people. It's cool. Cool art design there. And then the artwork on the actual case is the same. No difference there. And then much like the others here, we have DVD in black, Blu-ray in red, no interior artwork. And that's it. So I'm just trying to catch the titles there for you. A little awkward to get the angle right sometimes. And the slipcover itself is just a straight up matte finish. Very nice. I actually kind of prefer the matte finish like that because it doesn't, it's not so much of a fingerprint magnet, and I don't know, it just looks nice. And there you go. Whew! That was quite a stack of movies to go through today. Six new additions to the collection. So as always, if you'd like to get any of these for your collection, I will include Amazon links in the description below. Thank you very much in advance for using my Amazon links, because that does help to support the show. Actually, more specifically, it allows me to buy more Blu-rays to do videos about for you guys. So there you go. So thank you very much for those of you who use those links. Yeah, so that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next week for more horror movie updates. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day, and I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara.